Hi everyone, thanks for joining me for this webinar about Goldwater. My name is Kate. I am the National Scholarships and Fellowships Advisor for the University of West Georgia, and I work in the Office of Undergraduate Research. Most of what is in this presentation comes directly from Goldwater, whether through their website or other communication that as an advisor I've received from them. But I do want to be able to talk through a few things with you, and then I encourage you to also explore the website and email me at kate@westga.edu if you have any questions or if you think you're interested in applying for Goldwater next year. Just to give you a quick overview of the Goldwater Scholarship Program, Goldwater provides scholarship support to undergraduate students who are majoring in natural sciences, engineering, or math, and who intend to pursue a research career in those areas. So if your career goals include research and you're majoring in one of those areas, this is definitely an award that you want to apply for as long as you're qualified. Students can apply as sophomores or juniors, so typically it is juniors who apply because you do really need to have already had some research experience in order to craft the best possible application. If you've not yet had research experience, you can still apply, but it's more likely that you'll receive an institutional nomination and that you'll move forward in the Goldwater competition if you've already been working on research. So what is Goldwater? They say on their website that the Goldwater Scholarship Program is one of the oldest and most prestigious national scholarships in the natural sciences, engineering, and math in the U.S. It seeks to identify and support college sophomores and juniors who show exceptional promise of becoming this nation's next generation of research leaders in these fields. So if that sounds exciting to you, or it sounds like that describes you, then I really encourage you to reach out, send me an email, and let's start working on preparing you for an application to Goldwater next year. In the current academic year, Goldwater has just announced the scholars, so that competition is closed, but it is never too early to start prepping for next year. There are some characteristics that Goldwater looks for in students. Basically, it all centers around research, a strong commitment to research, a display of intellectual intensity and curiosity, and also the potential for a significant future contribution to research within your chosen field. So let's talk a little bit about the process for Goldwater. Each institution can nominate up to 4 applicants each year. They can do 5 applicants if one is a transfer student. So if you're a transfer student, please do let us know that right away. It does open up one more spot for students to apply. All students who are interested first complete the student profile and pre-application. So we have that deadline typically around November 1st every year. And that allows us to see who's interested, who's applying, and if we're having an internal competition, say if we have 10 people applying, then we'll need to do an internal competition first to see who will get those 4 to 5 nomination spots. Or if we have fewer than 4, we will know that we're simply reading applications to determine whether that app will receive a nomination and not so much an internal competition. So we need to know that first. So there is a deadline for profile and pre-application. So if you don't complete that pre-app by the deadline, you will not be able to apply for Goldwater in that year. Once you've done the profile and pre-app, as long as you're qualified to apply, we will open up the full application to you. So it is very possible that there will be many students who are completing a full Goldwater application, and then we will decide, and we'll put together a faculty committee and decide who it is that will receive those 4 institutional nominations. There are a few sections of the Goldwater application. The first is the online questionnaire, which is exactly what you think of in an application, questions that you need to answer, kind of like a form to fill out. Even though it is a form and it doesn't take a whole lot of time, there are some questions that we do want to draft answers for, such as your future academic plans. And we also want to really work together on this section just to make sure that everything is exactly as you want it to be and that you're representing your work and your accomplishments in the best way possible to Goldwater. The research essay is where we will spend the bulk of our time. Goldwater is one that you want to work with the National Scholarships and Fellowships Advisor on your campus. And again, that's me. My email is kate@westga.edu, and we can begin working on this right away by answering whatever questions you have. This research essay is where we'll spend the bulk of our time and energy as we're preparing your application, because it's really something that we want to draft, that we want to go through the whole writing process with, and that we want to make sure is crafted in the best way possible for you to have a competitive application for Goldwater. For this research essay, you'll be writing about research that you've already completed on campus or off campus if you did an REU or something like that, but some prior research experience that you've had. You'll include a description of the issue or problem that you're researching, a discussion of the methodology, and a discussion of your findings. And those are kind of larger project descriptions, but you may be working on a project where the entire project is not yours, you're part of a team. This essay is your chance to really show what you did for the research and why your contributions were valuable. So even if you were one of many people on a research team working on a project, or you came into an ongoing project, you still want to really detail what it is that you have done for the project and not quite as much what the whole research team has done. Keep this focused on you and your work and how it contributes to you achieving your goals. They want to know that you think like a scientist. So it could describe future work that your data suggests, or an entirely new work that's based on what you've learned from this experience, but it's really important that you detail your contributions. Now, if you've not done research yet, you can still apply for Goldwater and you can write your research essay based on a proposed project. I really strongly encourage you to do that with a faculty member who you might do research under. However, if you've not yet completed research, you're probably not ready to apply for a Goldwater. The students that are most competitive for Goldwater are able to write their essay on research that they've already completed or that they're currently working on. The next part of your application that is critically important are your letters of recommendation. You need letters from people who know you well as an academic student and as a researcher. They need to be able to speak to your strengths and weaknesses. Typically, it's those faculty mentors that you've done research under that provide the best letters of recommendation. But letters can also come from faculty who maybe you haven't researched under them, but you've taken a class with them or several classes, and you've really made a connection with that person. Perhaps you worked on an in-depth project through that class, or in some other way really connected with that faculty member that they know you well and can comment on who you are as a potential researcher. So letters from faculty who know you well within your field, so science, math, or engineering, and those who can relate course materials to your research careers or your research interests will be the ones who are going to give you the best letters. So if you have a faculty member from a completely different discipline, say something in the humanities or social sciences, and that class really doesn't have anything to do with your research goals, even if that faculty member knows you really well and can comment on you as an intellectual and as an academic, they may not be the strongest recommender. Also, of course, rec letters from high school teachers, family friends, or just character references are usually of minimal value to Goldwater. They really want to know you as a researcher, as a scientist. And you also want each of your rec letters to add something unique to your application. So if all three of your recommenders are writing about your role on a single project, and they're all essentially saying exactly the same thing, then you've not added any depth to your application. So you really do want to think about who you know among your faculty who could write you letters and each contribute something unique to your application and help your readers get to know you better as a researcher. We've talked a little bit about deadlines. I want you to keep in mind that these are the deadlines for the current 1920 academic year, though they are typically around the same dates every year. So every year our pre-app deadline will be around November 1st. Typically our internal final deadline, so this means the deadline by which you have your application totally ready for us to review and decide who gets those nominations, that's usually right after we get back from the winter break in January. And that's the deadline you need to have in your head. We need to have all your rec letters, your completed research essay, your application totally filled out. You need to be 100% finished by that internal deadline so that we can make the best determination on who gets those institutional nominations. Remember, there's only 4 of those, 5 if one is a transfer student. And even if we don't have 4 to 5 applicants in a particular year, it's not guaranteed that every application will receive that university nomination. So you really want your app to be as complete as possible on that internal deadline. And then there's a Goldwater final submission deadline at the very end of January. Typically, about 35% of nominated students will receive the Goldwater, and this is one of the most prestigious undergraduate awards in the sciences. So it's really a big deal. Yes, there's some money attached to it that you can use for your junior or senior year of your undergrad, but it also is going to open doors to graduate schools, to research opportunities, to employment positions. There are all kinds of benefits that you can get from Goldwater that extend beyond the scholarship funding that you receive. So even if you, say, are a presidential scholar at West Georgia or have some other funding that's nearly paying for your entire bill or covering your entire bill at West Georgia, it is still worth it to apply for Goldwater because of the doors that it will open and the prestige that it carries. Just a quick note, if you've done some research on Goldwater before, starting with the current academic year, applications are reviewed by discipline and no longer by state. So you're not competing against all of the other students from Georgia, you're competing with all of the other students within a discipline, so like within chemistry or within physics. So you really want to make your application stand out. I think at this point you probably understand that it is a competitive application process. So like I said earlier, we want to craft the best possible application for you. So I encourage you to meet with me regularly to go over your drafts of both the online questionnaire and the research essay. We can also talk through some ideas of who your your recommenders might be. So you do want to meet with those faculty recommenders to discuss your research and your goals, give them a copy of your resume, make sure that they really know who you are and what your research goals are, which means that you also have to know what your goals are. Your goals need to be specific and you need to be able to write about them. You need to have a good idea of where you want to go to graduate school, why you want to go to that particular program, what area within your major do you want to research in. It's not enough to say that you want to research in biology. What area of biology? What specific issue do you want to focus on? Where is the best graduate school for you to study that? Those are questions that you can start thinking about and that you need to really be able to answer as you're working on your Goldwater application. I also encourage you to take your drafts to the Writing Center. The content of what you write is very important, probably more important than anything else, but your writing also needs to be as flawless as possible. This is an application that you want to have really nearly perfect before you submit. And I encourage you to talk to past Goldwater scholars. Of course, you can find past Goldwater scholars at other institutions. You may know someone, but Dr. Leslie in the chemistry department is a great place to start because he's a Goldwater scholar. Okay, now that you have some information about Goldwater, I know we've just skimmed the surface pretty quickly in less than 15 minutes, but I want you to start brainstorming for your own application. So pause the video real quick, go grab a sheet of paper and something to write with, or open up a blank doc, and you can type your answers if that's how you prefer to do it. And I want you to answer the following questions, and I want you to really dream big as you're answering these questions. So think about if you could not fail, if you knew that the grad school you want to be admitted to, you would be admitted to. If the issue you want to research, you will have the opportunity to research. Assume that those will happen as you're writing your answers to this question, and let's think about your big goals. Okay, if you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that now. Go grab something to write with, and you can come back. Okay, I hope you're ready to do a little bit of writing. We don't have a ton of questions, but I want you to think about a few. First question, who will be your 3 recommenders and why them? Remember, you want each recommender to uniquely add something to your application. So what do you think that they will each uniquely contribute? So pause the video, take a moment to write down your answer, and then you can start the video back up again. Okay, I hope that you really did pause the video and answer this question. Now that you know kind of who your 3 recommenders might be, or maybe you jotted down just 1 or 2, that's okay. You can continue to think on who those last couple might be. Let's move on to the next question of what do you ultimately want to research? Now, be as specific as possible. What problem or issue do you want to contribute to solving? And then extend that a little further and tell why it's important for that to be solved. So go ahead and pause the video, take a few minutes to write your answer, and then you can resume the video in a moment. Okay, welcome back. Again, I hope you really did pause the video and write your answer to this question. Let's dig into the next one, which is what is your ultimate career goal? So assume you'll earn the necessary degrees. We talked about that earlier. After you have them, what will you be doing? I know we just talked about what you ultimately want to research, but think about how you will do that through your career. Are you going to work for the CDC? Are you going to be a professor, a faculty member at an R1 institution? What are you going to do? What avenue, what career will allow you to do that research that you want to do? So pause the video, jot down your answer, and then come back. Okay, I hope that you have paused the video and you've come back ready to tackle the next question. I know these are some tough questions, but it's good to get you thinking. These are the types of things you'll be writing about in a Goldwater app. So what are your next steps after undergrad? You've already said what you want to do ultimately for your career and what you want to research, but where will you go to grad school? Where is the absolute best place to prepare you to do that? And what degree will you be earning from that grad school? And also be sure that you can tell why you want that particular degree program, beyond, of course, just the name of the institution. So take a moment, pause the video, write your answer, and then we'll come back together. Okay, welcome back. Let's move on to the next one, which is what has been your most significant research experience so far? What was the problem or issue that you researched or that your research impacted? And how did you specifically contribute to that project? So take a moment, pause the video, spend some time writing down your answer, and then let's come back together. Okay, perfect. That was your last question. Now what I want you to do when you leave this presentation is to read back through your answers and see how they all speak to each other and logically connect. You may notice that we started really broad with what do you want to research, and each question got a little bit more narrow and a little closer to where you are currently in time. So we went from research to career to after undergrad to what are you doing now. All of those should speak to each other and connect in a very logical way. You should see those common threads. Your Goldwater application, while it is different sections, should tell a single story of who you are as a researcher. So if any of your answers feel disjointed or they don't connect to your other answers, I want you to think about how you could revise them so that they do fit. Keeping in mind that you may not simply be revising your writing, you might have to reconsider your larger goals and how what you're doing now is ultimately getting you closer to achieving those goals. Again, if you have any questions, please shoot me an email. I am available and excited to help you through the Goldwater application process, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.